Hello there, people! You know what time it is. It's time for another Aftershock level. What else would be doing at this time besides maybe some Hexen, but a certain someone hasn't been around for it. Of course not. But beyond that, let us actually focus on doing some more shooty in Quake. The 3D environments make for great killing things, right? Yeah. Let's load this thing up and shoot things in a level called Entering JONLEVEL. As might be inferred by the name, this level is crude. Let me actually, first of all, change this so it's working as a default level. But yes, Entering JONLEVEL is basically your stock level name. If you ever already kind of figured it out, entering being the name of pretty much almost every thread level. Yeah, that really doesn't set a good reputation for this, especially since we haven't seen entering in the title since like the days of Q2. And there, yeah, it wasn't exactly the best of experiences to see entering everywhere. And now all of a sudden we got it again with this weird Entering JONLEVEL. Like I said last time, a name is a name, and really a name doesn't mean much. But it is definitely the first thing you'll see in the level, and seeing Entering and know it's something that somebody didn't really name right really doesn't exactly set the bar high here. Yeah. So, that's the thing. This is a very obvious thing, which we saw 2 seconds into loading the level, and we could easily pick on. Therefore I did. It's like picking on a little child. I had to do it. Even though I didn't want to. And oddly enough, we have 4 health packs right next to each other in a weird compass-like shape. What God's name is this about? Look at this! Okay, what have I done? I have unleashed hell. Okay, here's a little railed shotgun. Here's every type of weaponry you want. And a nail gun, that'll be useful. And if you haven't figured it out, this is basically a hub-based level. The idea being that you go through one door, you kill the enemies, then you go through another door, you go through another door, you go through another door. Is it just me, or does it seem like this was the exact same design used at like the end of the first hub of Hexen? I think we just kind of did this in Hexen not too long ago. So there goes our shot of creativity. But it's a well-worked trope. It's something that makes sense or whatnot, and so therefore is done a bit. And therefore we're seeing it again. Alright, well, let's see how it works here. Oh look, explosives everywhere. And somehow I actually killed a spawn. Thank goodness for that, because there seems to be other ones down there. I seem to have messed up everything down there, didn't I? Oopsie daisy. Hooray! By not doing anything, I killed everyone! I don't know how I just accomplished that, but yes, I just killed 6 enemies without doing anything. Hooray for my total lack of effort there. There is a secret in this level, but it'll take us a bit to reach it. And the interesting thing is, like, little bars over there. Can't really reach it. And then that, there's really nothing to do but come up here. And look at the shiny silver key that obviously leads to a trap. Yeah, like, we didn't see that one coming. Okay. We got the silver key, now what? Well, obviously, we go through door number 2. Oh, God. Focus everywhere. Not sure if this was a good idea or a bad idea to go on a ramp. Alright. As you can see, the second part of the equation is that once you head back to the main hub area, enemies will spawn and try and kill you. And yeah, that's going to be basically the theme here, so get used to it. Oh no! Whatever shall I do? Okay, just keep shooting. Eventually they die. Oh! Well, this is a thing. Yeah! Well, this was fun. Nothing is working. I'm gonna have to Alt F4 out of this thing, ain't I? No, because that's not working. Wow. Hooray! DOSBot's totally broke on me! That's promising, right? 5 minutes into it, we already crashed. Well, let's do this all over again. What a fun experience that was. Totally worth the experience. Alright, let's do this all over again. This time without really, like, looking at things. We just pick up the guns and shoot stuff and hope not to crash in the first few seconds. Okay, let's see, are we gonna get some... things killed over here. Now I'm almost paranoid about crashing again. So that's the thing, once you see instabilities, it becomes harder to remove the feeling that you're going to have more instabilities. It really doesn't help a level at all. Because now I'm paranoid. And that's not exactly what you want to feel in the level. You don't want to be afraid of it crashing. That doesn't make for very fun times. So, let's do this thing. Yes, a bit more reckless, but at this point I don't really care. Alright, now we drop down here. So you see this is a razor little platform. And that is lava. That doesn't really anywhere useful, it's just a pit of lava. Okay, we only have 94 nails and absolutely nothing else to shoot anything with. This looks like a fun time. Ow! 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 Play thing! Hooray for rocket launchers! Now we can use excessive explosions and blow up everything! I approve of that. Only one more to go. Where's the other one? There can be only one! Oh, here! I see! Oh, God! Hasta luego, punks. Alright, as you can see, now with this lowered, we can just hop on this to get back across. But yeah, a little bit of an interesting area. We're gonna, like, hug the wall to get across a very dangerous area. It uses the environment against you, which works. Oh, God! Kill them! Kill them with fire! Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh, God! Okay, I have 7 health. I'm probably gonna die. Yeah! That really didn't work too well for me. But yeah, it definitely has some nice little tricks and traps going on here. That is one thing to praise about the level. Terrible name, good tricks and traps. Get out of here. Okay. Owie! He pushed me into the lava! Of course, this is the first level to introduce spawns, and it's the first level that's going to drive me crazy with them. enough is the fun of them. There we are, a bunch of bouncing spawns, killing everything they see. Yoo-hoo! Where are my pants? Where are my pants? Alright, that's one way to kill everything. That's one way to skin a cat. I don't know why on earth I'm skinning cats, but apparently I'm doing something. It's part of my duty. My duty in life is to skin cats. I like to skin cats. I have some problems. I like to skin cats. Anyway. Exterminate everything that lives. Okie dokie. Hail to the king, let's kick butt. Luckily, the instability seemed to have gone away. Seemed to be a one-time endeavor, which definitely is fair enough. Glitches can always occur, so one time. Exterminate everything! Hello, Johnson! Hello, Johnson! Of course. It took its revenge on me. See, that's the thing, because you were in like a little area where the only way back is onto a pit, tiny little pit, makes it a bit more painful. Kill yourself, buddy! Microsoft Sam asks you to kill yourself, please. And that's how you deal with a lot of chaos and make it through that. Hooray! Hooray for total recklessness. Alright, so, yeah. Now we take a nail gun and we gun them down or something like that. Well, that was definitely a much better time for armor. This is one small step for armor. A great success for mankind. And we get some infighting. Dow! It seems like whenever we get infighting, this happens. Okay, lesson learned. We cannot have the enemies infight. Well, stinks. That just stinks. Alright, let's do this again. Whoop-de-frick you do, everybody. I have seemed to have caused some errors. Now recall this level being unstable, so I'm not sure if this is just on the DOS version. Stinks even more. Because if I wasn't trying to be so nostalgic, we wouldn't be having these problems now, would we? Okay, get all the bouncy little explosive dudes. Oh god! Oh, Lord Johnson! That works! Everything is dead again! Much like the first time. And like probably every other time out there. Alright. Alright. Not the best, but definitely relatively good for me. Don't kill each other! You have so much to live for! Alright. Down! Of course this would happen. We gotta persevere, people! Hooray for instabilities! Oh dear God. Okay, this is starting to get frustrating. You know, it's probably just the DOSBots version. I don't recall this happening on the GZ Doom version, but as this was what was intended to actually be played, you can't really give credit to the actual level, therefore. And the actual level, therefore, is pretty terrible and unstable. Get me out of this godforsaken level. It crashes way too much. If I tell you, if I see an insufficient base memory error, yeah, hi, I'd like to complain about your fact of the matter that you're trying to pull me up. One side. That works. Success is mine. Except for when it's not success. That's probably not mine. Owie. But that way now we've killed stuff. And now watch as I fail miserably again because it crashes! Every single time you succeed. Okay, let's hope it doesn't crash. Just get me through this section, Miz. It seems like this section's where all the crashes occur. Alright, so far so good. Maybe this time we won't crash again. Alright, let's just try and make it through here and stay alive. The quest is simple. Health. It does a lot good. Okay, what's in here? Why there's a giant explosive spike. Okay. That wasn't too bad, and we got a lot of ammo out of this mess. Alright, and we have this interesting red wall. Not sure what that's about. We'll find out, won't we? Perseverance is key to our survival, so let's press this button and see what happens. Oh look, a lot more death knights. Okay, you press this button. It is a mighty shambler. Keep dodging, and eventually we shall hopefully make it out here alive. Alright. Now, the interesting thing to note, the button right here is actually totally useless. There was no purpose for this button in the level. Same thing with the silver key. It was just used to trigger the door that opened. Yeah, in all honesty, there really isn't a purpose for the silver key or for the button there. Hooray! Totally useless stuff. Two down. Your butt shall be mine. As you see, a lot of it was irrelevant. So, let's just push the totally useless button here. Yeah! I pushed the button! Yes! My life is achieved! I have achieved new purposes! New goals! I've achieved so much by pressing a random button on the wall. And there's also that red line, which I don't know what that means. Hooray for totally useless armor. Okay, here's a fun part. This really is a very, very painful area. The best way to avoid it is to drop down and back up as fast as possible, because you're going to have two shamblers attacking you straight ahead. Yeah, not fun. So now all of a sudden you're going to come through here. Oh, God. Alrighty then, we just killed two shamblers. And I think there was a horde of zombies down there that'll be useful for wiping out with explosives. Or of course it's a shambler. I know there were 3 shamblers, oh great, even more than I thought. Well, that stinks. Wasn't exactly expecting a shambler. Okay. We gotta be prepared for that. Okay, this wasn't exactly preparing myself now, was I? I will admit there are probably better ways to do this. Oh well, it's done, it's did. We did it. We did it, people. We did it with an amazing concept. Okay, probably not the greatest, but whatever. Just hope we don't crash here. What fun this is, huh? The fear of instabilities. Always a fun time. The world of DOS. The wonderful world of DOS. Well, I took the punch on that hit, but it worked. use some more ammo. Let's stock up on ammo, because that'll be useful for destroying everything. Especially since we don't really have any armor at the moment. That's a start. Gonna trace it back and forth. Phew! Press the useless button. I don't know why I just pressed that, but it's there. Because it's there, people. Come back here, Peter Pan, and dust off my shiny shoes. There we are. Okie dokie. We have very, very little ammo to play with, but we now have to play with said ammo. What a fun conundrum we're in, huh? We get as much ammo as we can. I think it's like around here, these spawns. See if we can like spy kill him. Okay, this didn't work too well for me at all. Okay, plus. I just killed 2 shamblers. Negative, there's still a shambler around somewhere. And I don't exactly have health. Oh look, lots of free health. Oh, I think something just spawned. Was that the other shambler? So this could be a bit awkward. Oh, okay. It's the living dead! Kill him, buddy! You can do it! It's definitely going to be interesting. Okay. There's only one zombie left. Where is he? Where's the living dead? Alright! Good news! I've killed everything! Bad news! I have a low amount of health. Please be like a health pack lying nearby or something. I could kinda use a health pack. I believe I should be fine with the drop, but I don't want to take any chances if I can. It's making me a bit nervous. I will admit that. But it looks like we're going to have to take the plunge and hope for the best. Oh yeah, and there was also that custom message about you being crafty, but of course you can't pay attention to that because, you know, if you don't move back fast enough, you're probably going to die due to 3 shamblers and really no guns at all. Yeah, it's a pretty cruel thing. At least, you know, if you know where it is, you can kind of get out of it. Alright, so as you see, here's the teleporter with the secret. This is really all it is, the invisible wall. Then you walk up. As you see, a very useful thunderbolt we could have taken. Except, you know, for everything trying to kill me. That kind of made it impossible. But, you know, what's a bunch of resources at the end? Of course they give me all the resources here. How evil can you be? This is like super villain level evil. Anyway, there's the outset. Whoop-de-doo. And here we are! In the descent. Wait, what? Yep. As weird as it sounds, it's actually 2 descents. Yeah. I, we have 2 levels named the exact same thing in the same episode, and there's only 5 levels. Who would have guessed? Well, we'll save that for next time, where we'll see what type of brilliant stuff we can see there. But for this time, as you see, it's really a pretty simple level. It's your 4-corner hub-based kill everything to accomplish it type of map. It definitely has some painfulness to it. As you saw, I had a lot of trouble and whatnot, especially with that ending area. Three shamblers on a very narrow pathway that pretty much can almost instantly kill you. You know, after you drop down a pit and you basically have barely any armor through the entirety of the map. Yeah, it definitely is a masochist paradise. It definitely isn't the easiest level out there by far. You can definitely see like a big difference between like this and compare it to something like say Q2 where everything was so directional and everything was like a long corridor so it was easy to hit. Dark Hours like that too, whereby everything was pretty simple because it was usually on a planar level and it didn't usually play to any monster's strength. Here we're getting bombarded with like just giant hordes of enemies, and usually it's in very tight confinements. Plus the environment's a lot more against us. Like, as you saw here, you have to like move on a very narrow platform, and then you have to deal with like a vor on the return trip while trying not to like die by falling on that narrow platform. So yeah, it's a very environmental, painful level. It has some weird anomalies here, like that totally useless button. I don't get that. Or, you know, the useless key, which at least does like a trigger. But at the end of the day, it's a very simplistic level. It plays to a certain concept that has been seen in the past, but I don't think it's been done for Quake, really. While I can kind of say it's not the most original because it was done Hexen, we haven't really seen it done in a Quake level, so you can't exactly say it's too unoriginal. What I can complain about, however, is the instabilities. Just like how E2M4 had instability, here it seemed like we constantly crashed when we got to a lava area, and that really didn't make for the best of times. So it's much more like you know, that, except for the fact of the matter that we also have the fact of the matter that it has an awkward name, which, like I said, is not exactly a big problem, but it is something that you're going to see. It's a title to name it by, and it looks pretty cheesy when looking at it. The Shambler area, honestly, I don't really get the practicality of it. I guess it's fair because we never had to resort to like an axe or something like that. It totally was balanced, but definitely was you know, not the nicest of areas. But I do kind of like that. I do like, you know, how painful this level was in certain regards. I definitely feel much like the previous. This level has its moments where it gets very, very painful. It utilizes a lot more of the harder enemies that we rarely saw in the other levels. And so it ends up becoming a pretty brutal mission. You know, this is the first time we've seen spawns, and honestly, the spawns aren't really utilized to their best here. They kind of bounce around on the bottom of an area that you're probably not going to go down, and because of it, you end up kind of accidentally killing everything down there. Just look at my first time, so I accidentally killed everything, and that was kind of the end of it. But it still is a little extra thing, so like, surprise, here are the spawns again. That's a thing. And I guess the first appearance of them, it doesn't really need to be the hardest. We're still only in the second episode, so it's kind of like, you know, the thing is rising, but it's not too ridiculous just yet. But for what it is, it's a pretty challenging endeavor, and I definitely feel it is definitely a lot more worthy than, say, the levels that were better in design, but worse in challenge, like Episode 1. So there definitely is some redeeming factors here, but I don't like the instabilities. Instabilities kill a level. Honestly, I think I've said in the past, but it's probably one of the biggest killing factors of anything. You really can't redeem something if it's heavily unstable, because how can you really enjoy it if it's constantly crashing? It just makes for a very unenjoyable experience. Look at Elder Scrolls Arena. Insufficient base memory. We could never really enjoy the game because we kept crashing constantly and getting that message. Here seems to be a very similar issue whereby we keep getting weird error messages on different levels. Rook to King Square we didn't have any problems with, but we have these other two levels that have issues. E2M4, is nowhere near a new issue. I saw that one, even in GLQuake. But this one's a rather weird one because it seems like it comes and goes. I'm not sure if it has something to do with, like, the infighting, if it has something to do with Ogre's grenades. It's something funky. But whatever it is, it's something that really affects only this developer. I think it's these episodes are, like, separated by developer, and it seems like this developer had some flaws when designing. And one of his biggest flaws is that some of his levels weren't exactly the most stable, especially in comparison with the other two episodes. So therefore, we kind of get this where it just doesn't feel the greatest. It's not the most stable, and it's a relatively short mission. The fact of the matter that you cross in the same area 4 times might seem nice thematically, and it definitely does remain interesting because there's always enemies in that room. But at the end of the day, it feels very simplistic and very almost like you're not going anywhere. There's really no exploration factor to this level because you're going through the same area 4 times. It definitely is a level where it kind of requires you to conserve resources, which is nice. But like I said, it kind of gets repetitive just to have the four-corner idea, and that pretty much be the entirety of the level. There really isn't much being offered here besides that. It's a pretty simplistic design, and I can actually say that it hasn't been done in Quake. What am I saying? The exact same style was kind of done in E2M6. This is pretty much E2M6, except a lot more simplistic. While E2M6 offered a lot of varying twisty caverns and made it a lot bigger and a lot more complex, here it's very, very simplistic. It's very, very much just your basic design with some twisted turns. It's like one room each. One thing I do have to say is, even though we've been seeing zombies, the interesting thing about Aftershock is that we've been able to kill all the zombies so far. Dark Hour, you can't really give too much credit because most of the levels are kind of made to be standalones. But this is supposed to be an actual campaign. And yet, so far, I can't think of a level whereby we haven't been able to kill all the enemies, even with zombies being in the levels. Then again, I don't think there have been too many zombies in the entire campaign. There were an E1M1, I know. Were there other levels with zombies? Like I said, I know E1M1 had them. And, yeah, I I actually think that might be it. E1M1 and now this. Yeah, we actually haven't seen zombies for a little bit of time. What do you know? But yeah, every level has been fully completable or so. It hasn't been like we've been missing stats or so. It hasn't been driving us crazy with our numbers, which is totally fair. It feels nice to actually not have to worry about broken stats for once. So that's a nice thing. Like I said, it's this level is definitely nothing to really gush over. It's no episode 1, and it really isn't even like E2M3. I much prefer that design style of actually like going places and doing things compared to this kind of very simplistic, very short arcade level style. But this level does have its appeal of just being quick action with a bunch of different stuff going on. Um, And it does work for what it kind of sets out to do, and having a few puzzles and having a few different things. Now, it does have its flaws, like I said, that I'm not too big a fan of. I don't like the instabilities. So therefore, I do feel it's definitely more on par with like E2M2. I'm not going to make an exception to this one because of that. Um, but I definitely feel that it definitely has like it has very similar style to like E2M2 in that regard, and the fact that it has instabilities. Um, And honestly, it doesn't come across as cheap or as basic as E2M1, even though E2M1 honestly was bigger and had more to it. E2M1 also felt very, very basic with its design. It really was just blocky. Here it's boxed, but at the same time, it looks decent, has hazards going on in the rooms, and it's more of like a puzzle-based nature to get through each room, which makes it feel more dynamic and more interactive than the very limited E2M1. And therefore, even though E2M1 didn't have crashes, I still feel it's a lot better than what we saw there, which is pretty sad, saying that this is a very simplistic 5-room level with like one little underground area. That really is all the entire level is, but it honestly works for what it does. It's not the greatest of missions. I wouldn't say at all that this is one of the greatest missions at all. In fact, it has a very glaring issue, which makes it not that great. I wouldn't recommend this being on anyone's server list, or even really like a must play or a level that I'm going to play over and over. But it's definitely a level that at least has some action to it, I guess. And it isn't like a total flop like, say, E2M1 was. This definitely has relative decency and a good theme. It just fails on account of its stability. And has relative simplicity if you think about it at the end of the day, especially in comparison to the original levels. Anyway, I think really that wraps it up. I think I kind of just stated the same thing multiple ways, but you should be used to that. I tend to ramble and kind of just punch my theme home by constantly saying different ways. Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much all for watching. It has been an adventure, and I shall see you all next time.